everybody. Welcome to the Three Owls podcast. Your hosts today, as always, are Terri and
Haley.
This is where we chat about motherhood, women's health, self-care, some astrology, that's mostly Haley, and some crafting, that's mostly Terri. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for returning. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for dropping by. We are grateful for each of you. This is the first time, if you can't tell, that I'm reading the introduction, so I apologize. It will get better. As always, our timestamps, socials, and all of our relevant links of anything that we talk about in today's episode will be in the description box below. If you enjoy what you see here, please click the like button. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon so that you can be notified when we update new content on the channel. That's it. Let's get on with the show.
Sweet.
Today we're going to be talking a little bit about sort of new beginnings with the start of spring, and we talked a little bit about the spring equinox last time. We talked a lot about the spring equinox last time. We're going to talk a little bit about new beginnings, and one of the things that I wanted to mention was relationship new beginnings. So how to make friends as an adult, specifically as a mom, but pretty much as an adult or someone in their 40s, period. Not just an adult, because like adult also includes 20s, and that's easier than it is in your 40s, in my opinion. We have a co-host today who is grunting on the floor. He wants to be part of the show.
Oh dear.
He has no problems making friends because he's very lovable. So if you hear, grunting and whatnot below, that's our... Yes. Very important messages.
It's got some things to say.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, I had kind of thought about just sort of opening it up with the how do you make friends as an adult, or what are some of the challenges that you have, if you have any?
Well, actually, I was thinking about this since we spoke about what we wanted to talk about, and the thing that keeps coming up in my mind is like, well, that, and also, particularly for mums, like Jack's nearly 10 months now, and I think I said this to you the other day, like I'm a very well-resourced human, and I'm also like, it's an incredibly like lonely process to go through. Yeah. So
being a mum, you mean?
Being a mum, yeah. Like, even though I have lots of friends and lots of people to turn to, I think like for me, some of the barriers are like, oh, well, I know they're at work, or I know that whatever, like if you're just driving around with a sleeping baby, unless you have someone that's in exactly the same position as you, you don't necessarily, there's not people that you can just sort of like call in on and be like, oh, I'm just driving around, like I thought I'd come by and say hi.
It's 2 a.m. and the baby is screaming and has been for the last 2 hours. Yeah. Anybody else awake? Yeah.
But, which got me thinking about like, is it like peer-to-peer marketing? So like one of the reasons that I think it does so well, so like that's like all of your, was it like Young Living, doTERRA, basically insert, there's
multi-level marketing.
Multi-level marketing, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. But like one of the reasons I think it does quite well is because it gives you a pathway to communication, an access point for connection. You're likely linking in with other mums that are in the same kind of space, and it gives you a sense of purpose and direction, because like these podcasts have been really good because it allows my brain to work in a different way. But then I've also like just started taking on a couple of clients a week, and I've also started my own like therapy-based podcast, or like more mental health-based podcast, because I have so many things that I want to say, and I don't necessarily, because I'm not working in a community at the moment, I don't necessarily have an outlet for that energy. And so...
And Jack doesn't really want to hear it.
He doesn't care. Like, dude, I'm giving you gold here. Like, download 7 years worth of academic knowledge to you at 10 months old. Like, should be paying me. But like... Yeah, so that's, it kind of, I had a conversation with a girlfriend many years ago about, like, the pitfalls, I guess, of And I mean, it's been around forever, like, you know, Amway calling, Mary Kay, all of those things that, like, our parents probably, like, had to deal with.
Avon, Mary Kay, Tupperware.
Yeah, like, and it's, I can see why it worked, or why it works at some level, because you're tapping into a pathway that I, as a relatively new mum, feel is missing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like with like-minded people, probably, you know, if we all love makeup and Mary Kay is our thing, or if you're into essential oils, then you know, whatever. And you also have the other part of that relationship, the momhood or what have you. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, it's not just mums that are involved in it, but like, it does give you, I don't know, I feel like that sense of purpose, particularly as you come out of the newborn fog, like having a sense of purpose and a different avenue to connect is just important. So, because I think it kind of allows for presence as well, because you can be present to your baby, which obviously should be, but then you can be like present to a different part of your life, so it doesn't feel like that one part of your life is all consuming. So it gives you back some diversity.
I sort of jokingly used to say I just wanted to have adult conversations. You know, I just want to have a conversation with somebody that's not, you know, it's not about mashed up bananas or whatever. And generally speaking, when you're talking to your child, you're not usually talking about the state of the world or, you know, what book you're reading today. You're probably just reading Goodnight Moon for the 40th time that day. I think, so in short, my opinion of it is making friends as, so say 40-somethings. Let's say like 30-somethings, 40-somethings, period. Motherhood or not, is so hard. That's my experience of it to date. So,
and I think it can also depend on the community that you're in. So, for example, like, if you're in a city, it can be, like, what school did you go to? Which is then, like, a throwback to when you're 17. And if you weren't from that town at that point, like, it's almost like people trying to place you in a reference point that they understand to see whether or not you automatically fit into their life.
Is that your water?
Use this bottle. And so, it can depend on, like, did you go, like, in Australia, did you go to a public school or a private school? Did you, like, what university did you go to?
I'm just going to remove this because I'm very warm. I think so again, for context, my husband and I bought a piece of land outside of the city almost a year ago now, and you know, I had a really invested group of friends that, in short, I basically found things that I like to do, found people that like to do it, and then I latched onto them and said, P.S., like, we're going to be friends now. That's how I make friends. And then out here, I haven't been able to do that yet. I mean, fair enough. If you've listened to the previous episodes, you've heard the trials and tribulations that have been my life for the last 8 months. But literally this morning, I woke up and I sent a message to... Sorry, I'm going to rewind a little bit. Went to a birthday party a couple weekends ago, really exhausted. My husband was still in the hospital. The kids were so excited because this kid is, you know, my little boy's idol. They talk about each other constantly. I didn't know this until I went to the birthday party, and his mom told me that, oh, her son talks about my son all the time. I was like, that's funny. My son talks about your son all the time. So we're at this birthday party, and my 3-year-old, I'm standing talking to a random mom who I don't know. I know her kid is this one running by in the orange shirt or whatever. And we're just chatting because you're wallflowers at a 6-year-old's birthday party. And my 3-year-old comes up to me and she says, Mom, you stay there with your friend. I'm going to go over here and run around. And I was like, okay, cool. And I just met this lady. I don't even know her name yet. And I thought, how cute is that? As a 3-year-old, that was her context. This woman who I'm talking to must be my friend.
Yeah, you're standing next to each other.
Yeah. So obviously, we, you know, stalked each other on Facebook, and she, you know, added me as a friend, whatever. This morning, I'm sitting eating breakfast, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to go on, and I'm going to message her. And I pull up my messenger, and there is a message from her 10 days ago saying, hey, how's it going? And I was like, ooh, totally missed that. But I was actually coming here to see what you were up to and like just kind of wanted to call you and, you know, see if you wanted to go have a coffee or a tea or a wine or something. So anyway, it sort of like that's how I made, you know, we're not obviously friends yet. I do know her name and she knows mine and we know each other's kids, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's the foundations.
Yeah, but just being sort of willing to put yourself out there and willing to kind of just make friends willy-nilly like my 3-year-old did. You're obviously standing next to each other, that makes you friends.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's really the only qualification you need is, I was going to say physical proximity, but even that doesn't really need to be a thing.
No. But like, I can remember being at a playground, and I was probably 10, and this was a playground on Bribie Island, if you're familiar with one of the outskirts of Brisbane, in the 90s, and like we were on the monkey bars, and this other girl and her little brother were like on the monkey bars, and then we just made friends. And I remember Mum like running over to Mum and asking if we could go to their place for a barbecue that night. Like, like we got invited to these guys. Like, do you want to go to a barbecue? Like, I'm making friends.
Your kids make friends for you.
For them. Mum's like, well, we're actually leaving in like 3 hours. So.
Yeah. But yeah, that's
like we're leaving the town.
Yeah.
We're just visiting an aunt. Like,
we can't actually be friends with these people.
Yeah.
I was dropping the kids off at daycare one day, and this kid's birthday that we were at, my 5-year-old yells out, "Hey, Mom, that's so-and-so's dad. Hi, so-and-so's dad." And I was like, "Hi, so-and-so's dad. I'm sure that's not your name."
Like being in the dog park, you're like, "Oh, you're Bella's mum."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm also called Haley, but Bella's mum's fine.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, just fast forward 5 years from now when Jack's going to school and you're going to be Haley, or you're going to be Jack's mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, I dropped my boy off at school this morning because we were late leaving the house. So we missed the bus. We didn't miss the bus. We were planning on being a little bit late so I could drop him off at school. And I walk him to the back door so he can line up with all of his classmates. And he's chatting up with everybody. And I'm like, hi, these people are total strangers to me. But he's like, you know, just chatting it up with anybody. So I'm like, why can't it just be that easy for us as adults? And I say adults, what I mean is maybe like, you know, your midlife type adults, not your 20-year-old self where you would talk to anybody at the bar and just do random things.
But people don't do that.
Really?
No. Lots of people are really lonely.
It's
not necessarily a common thing. Like, if you think about, unless you've like, you're 4 or 5 drinks in and everyone's like loosened up a little bit. But if you think about going to the bar, you don't necessarily like go, and you have to put it in, like, it depends on what, like, if you're in a city or a small town or whatever. Uni bar, not uni bar, but like, you're kind
for the
of
Canadians
there.
out there, that's university bar. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, you're kind of there with your friends, and I don't know, I remember people, like, if people would come up and talk to you, you might be a bit like kind of, what do you want?
Yeah.
I remember actually one of my British friends being like, Aussie girls are so hard. Like, it's so much work because
they're already friends. Like,
well, like, it would, no, just like, because he just was after some banter.
Oh, I see. Like, oh, okay, gotcha.
But like,
I thought you meant like friendship. He's looking for a different type
No,
of...
just like, but like, just in terms of conversation, like you were saying, like in terms of just going up and having a chat. But because there's like like Aussie girls just automatically think that you want to sleep with them, so they're already like, what the F do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
And it's just, I just want to have a conversation because we're both in the same vicinity, waiting for a beer or whatever.
Right.
And it's just like, well, you're talking to me, so therefore
you must want to get in my
sleep
pants.
with me.
Yeah.
And then, but then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy because Aussie dudes typically, like, there's a whole thing, right?
Aussie dudes typically do want to sleep with me.
Well, I mean, it's, I don't know who trained who, but that seems to be the dynamic. And it's just, like, it's hard to crack into that because if you're just after a chat, it's not necessarily the easiest. And I mean, this might be dated, like,
fair enough.
I haven't been.
This is 20 years ago.
Well, maybe 10, because, like, I was single for a long time.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things, like, it's just more a case of, I think it's culturally contextual, but it's also like it depends on the individuals as well. And we've lost the art of conversation because everything happens through text.
I have a hard time with that because I talk a lot. And I like to talk a lot. I like to, you know, that's why I want to do this, because I want to have a conversation about things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to link it below, but I'm reading, and Ian can say that I'm not reading it, but I'm listening to the audiobook by Jenna Kutcher, which I, again, will link below. How Are You Really? And all of the stuff she's talking about, I've thought about, we've had conversations about, and I'm like, she wrote a book about this, about stuff that I think about all the time, and stuff that I could have written a book about that I didn't.
Yeah. It's part of the human experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to have conversations about it, and I want to talk about how hard it is to make friends in my 40s, or how hard it is to make friends.
But do you think part of that is also because life experience, like, so you've got school, you've got university, maybe not, whether or not you've traveled and been like in like a backpackers, for example, where you're all kind of got the same living environment and you can go to the bar and have a beer, or you're sitting at a table, and you're potentially by yourself or in a small group of people, so it's easier to strike up conversation that way. Workplaces, the same, like, commonality is you're sharing a job or a location. And then, like, once you kind of remove that, it's pretty much just sport as an adult. Like, sport or hobbies.
Hobbies, yeah. I was just gonna, like, hello.
Yeah.
You know, but, like, my knitting group is in the city.
Yeah.
So I drive 50 minutes
Yeah.
each direction to go see my friends.
Yeah.
My friends. So my knitting friends.
Yeah.
Because I, you know, groups of friends. And, for example, I posted something on my town's webpage, on my town's Facebook group thingy, to say, hey, if anybody's interested in getting together and knitting, and, like, it just went wild. Yes, me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with that. Okay, let's start a group so that we can all be part of it, and then, you know, we can help each other. So we're going to start an online community first, and then, you know, again, not using this as an excuse, there were other things in my way that were a bit more of a priority, that you know, looking for a coffee shop for us to spend a couple of hours in once a week so that we could sit and knit together and chat and whatever was put at the bottom of the list. But those types of interactions, you know, it almost felt to me like, okay, it's safer for me to put this out there online.
Well, rather than just putting a flyer up with one of those tags with your phone number,
Your phone number on it, yeah.
like a rip-off tag.
Well, and the way that I found my previous knitting group was literally a girlfriend of mine walked into a coffee shop. There were a bunch of women sitting and knitting, and she walked up to them and said, I want to be part of this group. Can I come?
Yeah.
When do you guys come here?
Yeah.
And so the fact that she had the guts to do that,
Yeah.
shout out to Jen for doing that.
I knew it was Jen.
Yeah. Because Jen is great at making friends and keeping friends, because she's genuinely a really great human being. So she reached out, said, I want to be a part of this group. And then she invited me. She was like, hey, I found this group of people. We should go and hang out with them. And we just sort of like latched onto this group of people. And now they're 10 of my closest friends.
Yeah.
And I don't see them unless I drive into the city.
Yeah.
So on any random Monday night, if I don't have the 2-hour driving time plus the 2 hours to go sit with the group, it's challenging.
Yeah.
And sometimes I want to knit on a Thursday night with some people in a town, you know, like in town closer to me or whatever. So it's only a 5-minute drive, which anyway, I've talked a lot about that.
Well, I think too, it's like the first time I ever did a park run, which is a thing, I think it was started in the UK. It's basically a 5K that happens in various locations across the globe now. And it's a 5K that's run by volunteers, and the first one I happened to kind of run by was in Brisbane on the river, and I was like coming back from whatever distance, and there were flags set up and like little cones for the finish line, and people are standing there clapping, and someone like basically was like, yeah, like blah blah blah, and I think I must have just accidentally like run through the finish thing because I didn't really know what was going on. And they're like, yeah, you did really well. And I'm like, I'm not a part of this. But I would like to be. Like, this seems like
Where did this come from?
This seems like a good time. Like, but it's because it's like kind of one of those things, like people are passionate about it and it's a community, so they like cycle through who does what, and being able to show up every week. And that's the other thing, is like showing up every week.
Yeah.
Showing, or whatever the context of time is.
Yeah.
It's being able to, like, again, work, school, whatever, you're in a place and you're kind of required to be there because you're either getting paid to be there or you're paying to be there.
Yeah.
So, like, it's that point of whatever. Like, I remember talking to a girlfriend when I was in Brisbane, and this was before I worked there, but at the, like, the climbing gym that we used to go to, and I was kind of like, I kind of feel like I'm just, because I was there all the time. And it was the only place in my life that I was at the same place consistently.
All the time, yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like this is, you know, if I'm going to meet anyone anywhere, it's going to be here.
Yeah.
And neither of us met, like, I met a lot of people, but no one I dated. And same with her. Like, it was just more a case of being, I don't know, right place, right time, I guess. But, like, that was fun to, like, I met a lot of really cool people. I just didn't date any of them. But yeah, so it's kind of like, I think it depends on what you're looking for as well out of a friendship.
We talked about this a while ago, I think, the reason, season, and lifetime. And again, linked below, the book by Jenna Kutcher about friendship. And I don't need 100 friends all the time. But I need
him to have a nap. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I need, like, I'm not into a reason and a season.
Yeah.
Like, I want tight, you know, like these 10 ladies that I met through Jen who happened to just, like, latch on.
You're Scorpio, aren't you?
Yeah,
Scorpio?
I'm Scorpio, yeah.
Likes to go deep.
Like,
I'm Scorpio ascendant, so that makes sense, yeah.
I just want, like, I want real deep relationships. I don't want the, you know, my kid and your kid go to soccer practice together and so we stand and chat at the sidelines, which, I mean, fair enough, let's do that too, but...
I think they have a place.
Yeah.
But it just depends on, like, no one's got energy for anything anymore, so it's like energy allocation as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's what you're willing to nurture. And it's yeah. I know.
Not
determined.
interested. Not interested. Wants
like
to sleep, but not really.
So into sleeping, but so would rather just wiggle.
Yeah.
Hey, wiggle.
Do you want to pause it and try to get him to sleep, or do you want to keep going, or what do you?
I might just try and give him another bottle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna pause here for a moment. Haley's gonna do some stuff, and I'm actually gonna grab some knitting so that I can come back and show, because we've talked a lot about my knitting group of friends, and I have something that's super cute that I want to share. So we'll be back. So for those of you that are paying attention, I've put my hair up, and we've probably moved a bit.
The sun's moved.
The sun has moved, all the things. Haley has somebody in her arms right now. So before, which was basically 10 seconds ago for you, I'd said that I wanted to share something that I was pretty proud of, because we talked about my knitting group of friends, and I'd planned on working on these adorable little stuffies for my kids before I ended up in the hospital for cancer treatment. And anyway, so we finally got some time to actually get some done, and I have Isabel is her name at least until Marley gets a hold of her. Here is Isabel the giraffe. Like, oh my gosh, look at how cute her little feet. Look at the little ossicones. Come on. She's got a little tail. Anyway, she has an outfit. I don't have the outfit finished yet. It's all knitted, but it's not sewn together yet. And I have another one that I'm working on for my son, who is a big fan of sloths. So my daughter's a big fan of giraffes. She has very many of them. I think she's got 6 or 8 of them. And when I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, she wanted a giraffe. Thankfully, I'd already had this done. And then the sloth will come. So maybe I'll share that the next time.
Very talented. You're
Thanks.
just so good at it.
I mean, I don't write the patterns. I just follow the patterns. Oh, and this, I will share the link of the book where this came from. I'll link the book below for the knitting pattern to give pattern credit where it is due. Yeah, we're talking about making friends as adults and how I had shared a few things about my knitting group of friends. I think that's just it. You were saying, you know, in adulthood or in later adulthood, it's really only sports or hobbies. And or your kids. If you have children, you make friends through children. My kid plays soccer, therefore, with your kid, therefore, we all stand on the sidelines together.
But then, like, and I guess there is more of an online movement as well. Like, I know people that have been in, like gaming groups and stuff online. And so, for years, have been friends with whoever they've kind of spoken to in different parts of the world, and then have subsequently followed up and gone visiting in real life.
Yeah. I actually know a guy who married a friend of his. They were friends for years and years and years online.
Yeah.
And then, excuse me, they ended up getting married. So they met in person, and then it was like, uh-oh, what is that? And now they're married.
Yeah, I think it's, so, like, it's that getting to that point of connection, regardless of avenue.
Okay, so, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I think the scary part, particularly as an adult who, you know, if you're in your late 30s, early 40s, you've got a lot of life experience theoretically behind you, both good and bad. So sometimes because of that experience, people can be scary.
So that's what I was going to say. Put yourself in my shoes. Moved to a new town less than a year ago. Do I just, like, put it all out there? Okay, so I like yarn. I like knitting. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. I used to be a runner, but I don't anymore because I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And so, like, anybody? You know, like, how do you...
Yeah.
How do you just sort of, like, throw it out there and hope for the best? Because, you know, there isn't a knitting community. So what I did do was I joined the book club at the library, and then I subsequently ended up in hospital and had to quit that. But next fall, when it comes around, I'm going to get back into the book club because, you know, I want to be around like-minded people. And I want to have a conversation. I don't know. Do you just sort of toss it out there? Anybody? Any knitters and any knitters in the crowd?
I think that's where you start. It's like a pyramid, right? Like you cast the net wide and then see who you resonate with. Because I mean, we've had this conversation before, but like in terms of like mothers groups and that kind of stuff, being able to, like, I had a high expectation of the group that I was with, and it resulted in nothing. I think partially because we had potentially different views and approaches, and, you know, all of a sudden, and we never met in person. So I think that's part of it as well. Like, when you're in the newborn world, like going and meeting up with people that you've never actually physically interacted with, you just don't have a lot of space and energy for that. Or anything really. So
I showered today. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my context of life is that unless I'm doing 100 things, I don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so that has tapered off a lot in the last 5 years, I'd say. But even now, like, if I feel like if I'm not busy in some regard, or I actively wrote in my journal the other day, like, I have to find other ways to fill my cup because I don't have energy or time available to do all of the things that I would do previously, which then limits my ability to make friends in terms of, like, showing up to those spaces on a regular basis. So,
and it's scary.
It can be.
You had said, you know, a second ago about it as in your late 30s, early 40s. It can be scary. I went out for dinner. My husband, right before he went in for surgery, wasn't feeling very good. We were supposed to have a date night, and he didn't go. And I was like, I'm going. Yeah. And I sat there by myself with my knitting. And I didn't have a great time because I missed my husband and I wanted to enjoy with him. But I had a better time than I would have had I stayed home. And the meal was amazing. So I was really glad that I went. Or like, do you just strike up conversation with people in the school drop-off line, or, you know, and then you hope for the best?
And I think it's being able to recognize that it's not going to happen necessarily immediately.
And that's what's hard for me, because, like...
Why can't we just be best friends straight away?
Excuse me, hi, we're best friends now.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of just how I do it. So when it doesn't happen that way...
Because I think I've spoken about it on here before, but yeah, like you kind of flood people with stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, Ian pointed that out in terms of when I get excited and if I want to share information, I talk really quickly and I tell everyone everything.
Wow. Yeah.
So, like when we have Airbnb guests stay and then after a dinner recommendation, I'm like, oh, what do you like? What is it that you like? Give me some framework, because otherwise I am just going to tell you about every single restaurant I've been to in the last 12 years that is in walking distance and beyond. And then they're just going to look it up on Google anyway and just go to wherever they want. But, yeah, I know that that's a thing. I get really excited. And that's also part of why I think being self-aware of where I'm at in life now is that I totally am just looking for, like, that adult conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's knowing that I need it on a more regular basis, because otherwise I just overload randoms.
Hey, you don't know me, but you're about to hear all of my life story in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, some friends staying with us, and like her partner was literally walking out the door, and I'm like still talking about stories. It's like I really enjoyed spending time with them. They have like their own life to live, and I'm like, and this one time, I'm like, Haley, just shut up and go upstairs. Like, let the people drive. But yeah.
But it's hard when you are. I've said hard a lot. I just want to preface that, or I guess I'm not prefacing it because I didn't.
You've said it already.
I've said it already. I want to address the fact that I've said that it's hard. Yeah, there's a footnote. It's hard if you believe it to be hard. So I say it's hard. What I mean is it takes something to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
So it takes something for you to say something in the lineup at the school drop-off. Yeah. It takes something for you to say, so at the said birthday party we talked about before, there's another, my son has a bit of a bromance with this other kid in his school, and his mom was standing at this birthday party sort of by herself, and I just walked up to her and I was like, hi. Now, keep in mind, I'd already met her once at the drop-off at daycare, but I forgot her name. And I was like, either I could just pretend that I don't know her, or I could walk up to her and say, I'm sorry, I know we've met before, but I can't remember your name. I know you're so-and-so's mom, but that's not your name. And so I was like, you know what, just get out of your own way. So I did. I walked up to her and I said, hi, I know you're so-and-so's mom, but I don't remember your name.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, you know, my name is such and such. Who are you again? And I was like, oh, thank God. Because at that point, you know, I wasn't going to feel bad about forgetting her name, because she forgot my name too. She didn't even remember which parent I was, which one of the children that I had met. And
so you could have let that whole interaction slide by
just walking by and pretending.
By. Yeah, and she wouldn't have really known any difference because she's not really.
She's forgotten about me.
Paying attention, yeah.
How could she forget about me?
She doesn't know. She's new.
I know. Yeah. I didn't tap her on the shoulder and say, by the way, we're best friends now.
Best friends now, yeah. I'm a Scorpio. Tell me your deep, dark secrets.
But yeah, like that's... And I was thinking about it because, for those of you that don't know, I think you mentioned it already today, Haley has an audio podcast called Spirited Laundry, which we will link below. And I was a guest on her podcast. We recorded it a couple days ago, so it'll likely be released in the next little bit.
It's earmarked for the first week of April.
Okay, perfect. Right. So in that, we talked a little bit about... Where was I going with that?
No idea. But we spoke about your background in chronic pain.
Oh, remembering people's names.
Yeah.
When I was in the hospital, I made a point to remember the physicians' names, to remember the nurses' names, to remember the admin, cleaning staff, whoever, anyone that I interacted with. I made a point to remember their names. And at this birthday party, I actually, every time I'd hear somebody say, oh, that's Hunter's mom. Okay, Hunter's mom. Whatever her
equals,
name. Yeah, equals.
Janice.
Yeah. Haley, Jack's mom. Got it. And like Jack, 9 months. Ian, husband. Like I wrote things down.
You've got a database.
Yeah. Because if my brain is a bit mushy at the best of times. So I want to make sure I remember it. And right now, 5, 6.5 years ago when I met my knitting group of friends, 10 women, I knew one of them and me. So 8 names I had to remember.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be remembering them now, but now I know everything about them. I know their children. I know their birthdays. I know their, likes and dislikes, and if they're a knitter or a crocheter, or if they've ever knit with fingering weight yarn. But these groups of moms at this birthday party, I'm like, oh, gee whiz, yeah. Haley, Jack, Ian. Got to write it down because otherwise it's not going to stick yet.
Yeah. Well, there's no context either.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a personal or an individual relationship with them.
Yeah.
So there's no context of who they are outside of that birthday party.
Yeah.
And
or being so-and-so's mom.
Who their kid is. Yeah. Yeah. And I think when we were talking about the topic for this particular episode, like, the thing that kind of had come to mind for me was resurrection because of the timing of the year in the Christian calendar. And I think for me personally, it's like spring, it's also that resurrection of self. Like, I think that for me at this point, it's almost like I'm coming out of the depths of
winter
and like newborn land.
Oh yeah.
As well. So it's kind of like there's multi-layers of being able to sort of resurface. And friendship and connection is such an important part of that, because it's like, how are you, for want of a better term, like rebirthing yourself into this next phase of life. And making friends and connecting in new ways is an important part of that. Yeah.
Speaking of resurrection, one of the notes I made in my book was the day you take your bike out. So there will not be nothing linked below because it's a feeling. But for all the Canadians out there, we've talked about it before, you know what I'm talking about, the day that you take your bike out. I feel like that is today.
Oh, yeah?
This is the day you ask your dad, can I take my bike out? Because there's like enough snow is gone, enough bare ground, so it's not just wet and sloppy, but it's enough bare ground that you can ask your dad to take your bike out. It's today. That's that day. And like, you can feel it in the air.
Yeah. Got the window open.
Yeah, the window's open.
Smell the earth. Yeah, I love this time of year. Everything's like a little bit damp from the melt, but like you can just smell the ground. Yeah.
There was one more other note that I had about sort of rebirth, the changing of the seasons, and just kind of how that feels. I think you hit the nail on the head, sort of this like rebirth from winter. And, to tie it back to making friends, when you, like, everybody's stuck in Canada anyway. I can't say anything for Australia or anyone else who's watching in any other country. When you are stuck inside all winter and you're a bit of a hermit, so you hunker down and you eat stew and you shovel snow. Like, that's what you do. It's hard to make friends. You're not hanging out on the front porch.
It requires way more effort to leave the house.
Yeah.
So not only are you overcoming that inertia of like staying still inside your warm, cozy house, you also have to like wear 10,000 layers and like run to the car. Put your baby in a car seat so you put all the 1,000 layers on, then you bring them to the car, and then you have to take all of the 10,000 layers off because they can't be in the car seat with the 10,000 layers on. And then, and don't forget your purse, and you got your winter boots. And if you're going to playgroup inside the library, you have to take all of that off at the front door so you don't melt when you get in and you're not tracking mud through everything. Like, it's just so much work. Yeah. And worth it. It can be worth it.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's just more like, I think in, I can't remember if Cherie and I spoke about this in episode 1 of, so Cherie's a friend of mine, she's a naturopath. And I can't remember if we spoke about it during the episode or when we had a bit of a debrief afterwards, but about the, like, using energy and, like, recognizing that you're already depleted. So being depleted and then, like, attempting to return to life in a way that fills your cup. So for her, she was saying that, like trying to get into like high intensity exercise to make
Oh,
her
yeah.
body feel better.
Yes.
And it took her 4 days to recover. And like same kind of thing. It's not necessarily like high intensity exercise, but leaving the house can be high intensity exercise because you've got to like figure out how to hold a screaming child and put your winter boots on and
shovel the pathway to get to your vehicle.
Ferry back and forth to put, like, do you put the kid in this seat while you take your stuff out to the car, or do you put the kid in the car seat while you bring it and then come back and to grab the stuff? Like, what order do you do anything in so that no one loses a finger? Like, it's just, it takes a lot more mental energy and a lot more physical energy. I actually had like a full hissy fit in my front yard one day on the way to a playgroup that I organised. So in my attempt to create community, I tried to organise a playgroup at my community centre, which was moderately successful with the fact that it was a girlfriend and I that met up twice a month while she's just gone back to work, so now it's just me sitting in an empty hall. But for the winter, it was great because we had a place to go, and other people could join us if they chose to. But just putting Jack into the chariot, because you need something that's basically a 4-wheel drive to get over the snowbanks to get to the place, and it's like I was just like, why do I live here? And she's like, well, you kept coming back a lot, so there's obviously something here for you. And I'm like, yeah, I actually really like it, but like, right now, I just want to punch the snow in the throat. So,
well, and the first day it snows, it's the most beautiful place on earth, and it's so magical. And yay ski season, and yay snowman, and this and that, and why do I live here? Is like February 28th.
Yeah. I think too, because I totally went like all power woman one day and cleared the entire patio of like this massive snowdrift that we have. But because I don't really know what I'm doing, and I was pregnant for the last one, so therefore did nothing, I've totally created the perfect environment for the snow to melt onto our pathway so that there's just water on the concrete or on the tile. What is it called? Pavers.
Yeah.
And then so it melts, so it's like a puddle during the day, and then the second the sun goes away, it turns into ice. So it's like an ice skating rink from our like back patio steps to either the front gate or the garage. So
the places you need to go.
So Ian sat me down and had a very carefully worded conversation with me about how he's going to teach me about how to where to put the snow
so it doesn't melt.
Yeah,
in the hole.
I just kept saying, well, what I'm hearing is that I shouldn't do it anymore. He's like, no, I'm being very careful with my words, and I will show you how to do it. And I'm hearing that you don't want me to do this anymore.
I love it. So, I mean, the things that you wouldn't ever know, like when you move to Australia and you find a cockroach on your floor and you kill it with a flip-flop, and then the next and you get rid of it, and then the next morning there is a cockroach-shaped pile of ants eating all the guts that you were pretty sure you got rid of, and then you suck the ants up with a vacuum. Side note, don't do that. Ants come back for their dead. And then millions of ants came
into the vacuum
cleaner. And they went into my bedroom looking for their people.
Because they release pheromones to track stuff.
Yeah. And so there was a wall. Dave, if you're watching, I still feel bad, but he told me just leave them alone, and then I slept upstairs on the couch for 3 days. But there was a wall that the day after was black and moving, and normally it was white. And then it turned into half a wall, and then it was just a line of ants, and then they were gone. But that's the stuff you don't know. Like, I didn't know that. Just like you don't know where to pile the snow so that when the sun hits it, it doesn't turn into a big pile of water that ices over at nighttime. And, yeah.
Yeah, for the record, not all houses have cockroaches like that.
Okay, so to be fair, I had never seen any other cockroaches anywhere. There was one. Yeah. The one, and I freaked out, and Dave was like, just leave it alone. He was just passing by. And I'm like, okay. Well, I didn't touch it. I didn't have to touch anything else after that because there were none. But I freaked because I was like, oh my God, what did I do? Anyway, it was a very, very traumatic experience. And then I heard that you should dump your shoes out before you put them on.
Oh yeah, if they're outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, because red black spiders go into them.
Yeah.
Because they're dark and warm.
Yeah, gross. Also, my Birkenstocks.
Deadly.
Yeah.
Gross and deadly.
Gross and deadly. Also, my Birkenstocks got moldy. I didn't know that could happen.
See, to be fair, I didn't know, but like, like leather by the coast, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until I moved to Cairns, and then one day I'm like, everything is green.
Yeah. Green and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Anyway, the whole idea of this being, context, and if you don't know...
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
So
what I'm hearing is Haley doesn't need to shovel anymore.
Right. I'm glad I've got some confirmation on that. It's so funny. He knows me. He's just like, I'm very careful with the words that I'm saying. And yes, but I'm choosing to ignore them, and what I hear is.
So
it's actually really fun to shovel snow, especially if you've been inside all day and it's like a little bit sunny.
No.
Well,
So,
I mean,
for any Canadian out there, they all know what I'm talking about. We have a friend who is from Wales and used to live in our house, in my house, before I moved out here when I was living in the city still. And he used to say, I love shoveling snow. I want to shovel anytime he'd come over to visit, like come over for dinner or whatever, he would want to go shovel the snow. Absolutely, go for it. Fill your boots. And not literally. And now he doesn't live here anymore, but
doesn't have to do it. He also really liked brushing your dog.
Yeah.
Just like, look at all the hair coming off it. So funny.
So weird. How did we get here? Yeah. Anyway, I just realized that this is our second video, so I still don't know where we are in time. Didn't pay attention to the first one.
That's alright.
So I think, new beginnings, newness is really fun and can be scary, is kind of what
I would agree.
And you never know what you're going to get.
And time-consuming.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. So whether it's making friends or dating or whatever, like inviting people into your time, particularly when you're older, is like, well, you've got such finite amounts of time that you kind of want to... It's almost like you want to guarantee that it's worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to go for a coffee. Is this going to be worth my time, or are you going to be a flake and, or whatever?
Yeah.
I saw a meme this morning, and it was actually, I think I screenshot it or something, and it was something to the effect of like being an adult and never having enough time to do anything. Yeah. Adult life is constantly saying to your friends, let's do something soon, and suddenly 6 months have gone by. So that's people that you're already friends with. Imagine, you're in a town that you don't know anybody and you want to make some friends so that you can chat with each other at the soccer game or whatever. And it takes that much more effort to overcome the inertia.
Yeah. I think it's a lot more heady than it used to be. Because everyone's so much like, you don't have to. Like, I can just text you.
Yeah.
Or as I said, like, I feel a pang of loneliness. I just have Gilmore Girls running all day. Because they talk a lot, so I don't ever feel like I'm alone. And then that's fine. Because I also don't have the energy to go and, like, find new friends right now. That's a lie. I'm going out for wine tonight with a relatively new girlfriend, which I'm excited about. But it's just, it takes planning.
Can I say something that is a little bit offside, maybe? Because then there's that other part where, like, I'm so excited for you and you making a new friend, and then there's this, like, weird pang of jealousy of, like, you have plans tonight and they're not with me, and that makes me sad. And I'm super excited for you.
You can hold both things.
Yeah.
I think, Well, we had a joke that you went and had lunch with another girlfriend who's in a mutual circle of friends. Like, we're all going away.
Yeah.
And, like, she's awesome. But we have a joke. I'm like, well, now she's your new best friend. Like, am I being replaced?
Yeah.
So.
You've been replaced a few times. You were replaced by the nurse at the cancer facility.
Yeah.
You were replaced by...
I know. So easily replaced.
Well, and then, like, I've mentioned it a few times. I've been through not so great times. So a lot of my friends that normally would invite me to go do things are not doing that right now. And it's not because they don't want me to be there.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is, but I don't think it is. It's
we all had a meeting and decided we don't want to be at places.
We all had a meeting. You're no longer welcome.
Yeah, we decided, sorry.
I'm naming this episode, We Had a Meeting.
Oh, can you put the glitter bit at the end? I know that I'm not editing it, but I really like it. I actually checked the last one to see if you got on board. You didn't.
No, I didn't.
No, I'm specifically requesting.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
We had a meeting and the glitter does make it to the end. Watch later for the glitter bit. Yeah, but so I know that my friends know enough about my life. That's the thing that is really, like, it's a bit backwards. My friends know enough about my life to know that I wouldn't be able to say yes, so inviting me to do these things that they're doing that I can't be included in.
Yeah.
It's heartwarming to know that my friends know enough about me that I share these things with them, and it's heartbreaking that I can't be involved right now, and it's just where I am in my life, and that's fine too. Just
so
sucks.
The question is, and like this is pretty global, but like, would you rather be invited, like the text or whatever saying like, I know you're not going to be able to make this, but I just wanted you to know that you're invited, or would you rather not know about it and then find out about it later?
Be heartbroken later?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing. Like,
which is worse, knowing that it's happening and not being able to go,
yeah,
but that you could be, or finding out after it's happened and knowing that you
that I totally would have been invited.
Would have been invited, but like they're trying to not hurt
be
you
sensitive. Yeah. And Jen, who we mentioned earlier, is like the loveliest human. She involves people. She knows things. She checks up on you. She makes sure she made sure we had food in our fridge and our freezer was stuffed full of food. Like, she invites me to things all the time. And I feel like that warms my heart a little bit, and I feel bad having to say no, even though I know she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So I know she doesn't feel bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what is worse. Knowing that fun things are happening that you would be included in if your life wasn't going through hell right now, or not knowing about them and finding out about it later. I don't know. It's all just crap because you don't get to be involved.
Yeah. True.
Because of your circumstance and whatever it is. Like, my husband and I talked about it. We just want to be normal. We just want to go out for dinner. Can you imagine? Rewind 2020, like 3 years ago, we were all having the exact same conversation, but everybody was in the same boat. It wasn't just us. Yeah. Which is what it feels like now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it kind of comes back to that, the point of like feeling connected and a part of a community.
Totally.
Yeah, which is essentially why you want to make friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, is to feel connected.
And like, if you are an introvert, because neither of us are, do you want to make friends? Or are you okay just being at home? Look, we talked about this when my husband went into the hospital. He got a personality implant while he was in there or transplant, because he went from being like super stoic, really introverted, to talking up the nurses and doctors and making friends with one of his plastic surgeons. They're just chummy. Like, they're all friends now. And I'm like, who are you and what have you done with my husband? Because this is not the guy that I married.
Wants to have a party? What?
I know. Yeah. Wants to have a party to celebrate. He doesn't celebrate anything. And I'm like, you want to celebrate being in bed by 8 o'clock on a Friday night? Because, like, that's what he would do. Sorry. So rewind. Below, if you're an introvert, let us know. Is this just us? Like, are we?
I think it's just different ways of filling your cup.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I think you can still be introverted, but then want to have that feeling of connection.
Yeah.
So, and like, maybe the inertia is just way bigger if you're not naturally inclined to kind of put that energy out there in that pathway.
Well, we have a mutual friend who you made plans with, or she made plans with you to celebrate being her maid of honor and the MC. And she talks about you being her extroverted friend so that she can make friends through you. Like, you do all the legwork and she just reaps the benefits.
Like, I would be the person that'd be like, so, we're at a bar, like, so are you from here?
Yeah.
Tell me good places for coffee. Oh, by the way, this is my friend and she lives here, so, like, you guys should be friends.
Yeah.
I'll come visit.
Well, and her and I have that relationship where Haley is the common denominator. We think each other are great, or at least I think she's great. I think she thinks I'm pretty great. And then Haley moves back to Australia, and we see each other twice in the however many years, 6 years that you were gone. We're like, this is ridiculous. But when you're here, we hang out all the time. Silly.
Yeah. I think it's just, it's different. I think because we were work friends as well,
Mm.
like in the sense of that we all worked together. So when like you both changed jobs, it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily as easy to just
It's not
pop
as
around.
accessible to,
Yeah. It's different groups. But see, now your best friend is a part of that crew anyway, so...
I know, I'm in. And then the brother and the other one who's got kids the same age as me, like it's all just this nasty little web of
It's awesome, yeah.
expats.
Basically.
And like me and MJ, the Canadian, the other two Canadians.
Oh, and GT.
Oh yeah,
GT.
who's there?
Married
I'm the
to Irish. Yeah.
okay. To be fair, I'm the only one that is like full on Canadian
Married to a
husband.
Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian.
Yeah, we're all expats who are either just procreating to make Canadians.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or married to, like, yeah, because I can't, all I can claim is Jack. He's the only Canadian in my family.
Yeah.
Like, natural born.
I think I just had an idea for the next episode. Canadian ? Right? So
Shouldn't that be around July for Canada Day?
maybe. I was just thinking the whole family and then family that you choose. And I won't tell the story here, but the story where my son asked Ian about why he wasn't on our family tree.
Did you figure out where the family tree is? Okay.
I do know that now. So we'll share that story in the whatever episode we decide we're going to have that conversation about family.
Funny.
Okay, so we've got 33 minutes into the second video. This is a big one. What, are you good?
Yeah. I guess in summary, it takes a lot of effort. Potentially worth it. Potentially not. But you have to be there to show up and figure it out.
Yeah.
Show up and see.
Yep.
Whatever that looks like for you.
And be your authentic self while doing so. Because eventually someone will see through it if you're not.
Ooh, can I have a quick story?
Yeah.
So...
About writing on somebody's white t-shirt. And you being your authentic self and
Totally
me
my
not being
authentic
okay with it? Sorry. No, that wasn't
That
the
wasn't
story.
it.
Okay.
But early in my counselling career, I had this client who had spent quite a lot of their time, like, reading, very empathetic, and, like, reading what the person in front of them needed from them, and then mentally selecting a character, so say Chandler from Friends, and embodying elements of that to then be that personality for the person across from them. And, like, for a substantial period of time. And...
That would be exhausting.
Oh, they were so, like, completely, like, cooked. And just exhausted.
Yeah.
Because then you're trying to... Again, it's that external, like, you're trying to be what everyone else needs. But from a place of... Like, it's not coming from your internal core. It's not like a kindness that's, like, going to then fill you back up. It's a kindness that you're offering out... So it's like a leaching process rather than a feedback loop.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, over the course of our time together, we sort of unpacked that. And it was really interesting because when they showed up like 5 or 6 sessions in, their hair was different, the way they held themselves was different, like their posture changed in the way that they spoke. They could see like planning things for themselves as opposed to their like partner and family. Like it was more like they were placing themselves, like their actual self, in the center of their own story. And I just remember being like, your hair's usually straight. And like, oh yeah, I've been straightening it for X, and like, this is my normal curly hair. It looks awesome. Like, and just that slow shedding of what they thought other people needed them to be, and the stepping into of self. It was really interesting to watch, and like such a privilege to be a part of as a supportive person.
There's a gentleman that I know from my current job who he's a consultant now, and he talks about being, don't pretend to be somebody else. Be the best you that you can be. And his name's Taka, and he says, I always want to, I want to be the best Taka. And it took him years to figure out, he would put on a face for so-and-so, or he would, oh, I really like that characteristic of Haley, so I'm going to try to embody that thing that she does. And he said it, you know, for years he found it exhausting. And so I've sort of stolen his be the best Taka, be the best Terri that I can be. There is nobody on the planet that can be me better than me. So if I give myself the permission and the energy to put into being the best me, you know, like I laugh loudly. I talk loudly.
You're a very passionate person.
I'm a super passionate person, and I'm going to do that unapologetically. And maybe it's a little bit of growing and being in my 40s. Maybe it's a little bit of going through what I've gone through in the last year. Maybe it's lessons I've learned, you know, through school and university and my work. Maybe it's friendships and people that have taught me certain things. And finally, I've figured it out. But yeah, it's that then you'll get the people that you want to get. You know, you'll attract the best Haleys and the best.
Yeah, because you're not
Jens
looking for other people to fill that space because you're not missing anything.
Exactly. Yeah, wholly and perfectly myself. You're wholly and perfectly yourself. Yeah, I love it. So there. My best part of my best day. What was your best part of your best day?
My best part of my best day. I mean, your homemade bread was pretty great.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
So before this episode, I made some homemade bread so that my husband, he has to chew some really soft foods at the moment. So I was making homemade bread so it'd be nice and like squishy and yummy. That was pretty delicious. That's great. That's what I was going to say too.
Yeah. Also, sleeping is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
I'm glad we could do this in person. I'm glad that we figured it out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I love these. I love the fact that we get to do this. We get to talk. We get to be with each other. It's all really beneficial for me.
It's on the internet, so it's there forever.
That's right.
In perpetuity.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, so next episode. What are we on? Episode 7? Yeah. So episode 8. I was, like I said earlier, I was contemplating something like the family that you choose. Yeah. And the whole family tree conversation.
Am I allowed to have a midlife crisis at 40? Is that a midlife thing now? Can we also discuss what my midlife crisis is?
Sure.
Because I turned 40 next month.
I know.
Crazy. I don't know if it's too early though, because like...
Is 40 midlife?
Well, my genetics would suggest that I'm going to be around till at least my early 90s.
Like you're having a midlife crisis at 60?
Yeah. Well, plus we got medicine on our side, so like maybe 110. Like maybe I don't want to shoot too early, but like, can I get a Tesla? Like I don't know.
We were talking about that the other day, my husband and I, about Tesla. I'm like, why would you get one? I don't know. No, you know, if Tesla wants to sponsor this podcast, feel free. But
I feel like we need to start slow with
athletic greens.
Yeah. So I think I've made the joke a number of times, but so in the did I explain that at all? I can't remember if I explained it.
I don't know because you had to explain it to me because I still don't get it. Apparently, they're everywhere except here.
It's just on every podcast that you come across. So I don't know if they're doing like a massive like is the social media the new MLM? Like you get sponsored to say that you take athletic greens and your life is immediately better. Like I'm sure the stuff is good. Never personally tried it, but if you'd like to send me some, I'll give you my honest opinion. But yeah, every time you listen to a podcast, it's like, I'd just like to take a minute to tell you about the sponsor of this podcast, Athletic Greens. 75 of your daily nutritional multivitamin needs, whatever. Like, again, sure, it's great. But I keep joking with Terri about how we'll know that we've made it when Athletic Greens
when we've got a sponsor
contacts us.
I'll gladly take any yarn as well if anyone wants to send it our way.
I mean, like baby formula, there's a shortage of that. I'll take that. So that'd be good. Do you just write a wish list? This is part 2 of our manifesting episode.
Did we do the manifesting episode?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we did. Because we talked about Jordana Levin's book.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. I feel like we could do more on that.
Oh, yeah. You can manifest whenever. All the time.
I mean, like, we can do more, like, another episode, a little deeper.
Okay. Maybe that could be episode 2 for April. Because we're not in May yet. And then people could manifest in May. It's a nice little acronym. What's it called? Alliteration. Manifest in May.
All I think of is gonna be May. Little JT. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Next episode, keep your eyes peeled to this channel. Special thank you to everybody. As always, we appreciate each one of you who takes time to watch. You keep coming back. If this is your first time joining us, thank you. Like I say in previous episodes, we've got a few episodes behind us, so feel free to go back and watch those. We want to say thank you to our sponsors. We don't have any sponsors. We want to say...
There's lots open if anyone wants to join us.
Oh, goodness.
I don't know how influential we are. But I tell a lot of people about things. That's the thing, is like not necessarily on the podcast, but like if I like something, that's the other thing, is like I'm buying of people. I'm like, oh yeah, this thing, like I totally
Yeah.
And then I think that I'm passionate about stuff that I've tried and vetoed.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming back. Thank you if you're new for giving us a chance. If you liked anything in this episode, or if you saw any value or anything, please like this video. Go back and watch our previous videos. Please, again, if you liked what you saw, click subscribe. Click the little bell notification, the little bell icon, so that you can get notifications of any new information or things that we upload on our channel. All of those little things help us and our channel grow. And
let's be honest, even if you don't, we're still coming back.
We're coming back anyway. Because our moms like it. Actually, my mom. Your mom.
I'm not even sure
she's blacklisted.
Watched anything yet.
Blacklisted. That's it.
Actually, she was with 2 of my aunts during the week down in South Australia, and I meant to say you should all sit around and watch my YouTube, because then you can all catch up on me at the same time.
That's right.
But I doubt that even. She's too busy having her own life.
How dare you?
How dare she? Marie, come on now.
So, yeah, come back. Come back in a couple of weeks-ish. This one will likely be uploaded. It's the end of March right now, so it'll likely be uploaded in the next week or so, once we have a chance to edit and whatnot. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.